Hawkeye Electronic Security Company Limited assigned to the British High Commission on Thursday during a peaceful protest outside the company's Belmont Road office demanding fair wages. The officers are rejecting a 5% wage increase, calling it insufficient and out of touch with today's economic realities. General Secretary of the Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees, UK's John Levy, said negotiations for improved compensation have been ongoing since last year with no meaningful offer on the table.
We are saying to the company that it is time now for them to put some reasonable proposals on the table that we can take back to the workers for consideration. Where we are at now is not a point where we believe we can go and share that with the workers, because it does not properly deal with the impact of cost of living inflation, whichever way you want to treat those challenges.
Levy pointed out that the union served a wage and benefits claim in May 2024, but progress has stalled. He noted that similar roles in the UK earn up to £7 per hour, while local officers are offered the equivalent of £1 to £2 per hour, roughly $211 to $422. Levy insists these officers are well trained, disciplined, and deserving of a prompt solution.
The company ought to be more reasonable, and if they have to go back and talk to the British High Commission, then we suggest that they do so, and let us try and find a resolution to this problem. We're not going to the second year of the contract period without any resolution to this problem.
He mentioned that the workers were very responsible in their demonstrations.
No, the Commission is fully manned, 100%. All workers that should have been on duty today are on duty. Those workers that are here are off-duty people, and we are being very responsible in how we treat with that. Bearing in mind that we are dealing with a situation with persons from another jurisdiction, another country. We have to take that into consideration.
Shante McNeil, CVM News.
The Green Paper on National School Nutrition is now white as the Senate combs through the 30-plus page policy after years of pressure from the public. It's to be implemented in all schools, but concerns have been raised over just how many students will benefit given the budgetary constraints. Courtney Lewis has more.
1 month after its approval in the cabinet, the long-awaited school nutrition policy has made its way to the upper house. The education minister says the policy, which is the collaborative effort of the Ministries of Health, Local Government and Agriculture, seeks to remedy issues of unregulated vending around schools and poor nutrition, which delays development among the nation's youth. Even more, she announced the rollout of a $1 billion breakfast program to serve about 69,000 students in schools under the National School Learning and Intervention Plan.
This is part of a broader $9 billion program that aims to reach 200,000 children with a nutritious breakfast, snack, and/or midday meal. We know, again, that children cannot learn if they are hungry. And in many of these schools that we don't see the performance that we want, they are in communities and in families that are challenged in providing the nutrition.
However, questions emerged over the reach of the program and budgetary allocation.
If there's 160,000 children being fed by PATH, on what basis, therefore, did we assume it to be sufficient for only 69,000 to receive breakfast? This would leave approximately another 100,000 not being considered.
The opposition spokesman on education, Senator Damian Crawford, also questioned the nutritional value of the meals as dietary needs differ per child. He urged a review of the selection criteria, noting poor nutrition, though a factor, is not indicative of poor performance.
There are some schools that are being targeted, nutrition, and that's because of their performance. Nutrition can't be school-specific. I mean, as high a school as Campion might have a child with nutritional food insecurity. And so, therefore, I think that the variable of selection being the schools that are underperforming would leave many of our children to be at risk of continued food insecurity.
But the minister says the cooks will be guided by informed dietary standards. She adds resource constraints were a pivotal factor in the program's rollout.
And so our decision was those schools that were determined by the National Education Inspectorate, that's our quality assurance body for schools, they identified based on their evaluations of all the schools, which were the schools that needed the most interventions. And it correlated with the schools that had more students who would have been kind of correlated with those who would be having deficiencies or would need this kind of support. And so we made the decision that we would target those 69,000 children in those schools.
She maintains it was a strategic decision by the government due to finite resources. Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
St. Ann is now the construction capital of Jamaica, so says Chairman of the St. Ann Municipal Corporation, Mayor Michael Belnavis, who adds a combination of factors place the parish as a priority local for commercial enterprise, tourism, entertainment, and residential property.
St. Ann's Bay Michael Belnavis, during the recent launch of EdgeChem's 26th location in Draxhall, St. Ann, shared his perspectives on the real estate and commercial boom that is taking place within the parish.
And if there is any sort of softening of the economy and so on, it's not in St. Ann. It's not in St. Ann. But St. Ann has taken on a resilience, it's taken on a tenacity, it is growing by leaps and bounds, and as the mayor of the parish, I can say businesses don't be left behind. Follow the track of all those other entities who have come into St. Ann. This area isn't just being developed as far as commercial, it's being developed as residential also. So we're seeing very eclipsed in Kingston and St. Andrew right now with the amount of housing applications. We're seeing several people are developing lots by the thousands because there are a lot of lots in and around the area. People are buying them out and putting in mainly middle class and upper middle class developments. But what's been happening is that there's been a big escalation of prices in recent times. So people have been buying what was inexpensive, and it's got to be pretty expensive. Now moving from 12 million to 30, 40 million. Gorgeous built thousands of houses right there in Discovery Bay. We just approved one out by Paritown for a couple thousand. Everybody is capitalizing and monetizing the boom that's going on now. So St. Ann is the place to be.
Including EdgeChem Jamaica, whose Executive Deputy Chairman Doreen Frankson explained the rationale behind its new $6 million location, as well as the reception it has generated among an increasingly international demographic of patrons.
Well, the company usually takes their products to their customer base, and over the last couple of years, we have noticed that it's very difficult to get into Ocho Rios, where our other location is. And parking was a problem, and so we found that some of our customers was going elsewhere because they couldn't get to us, and we decided to come to them. So that's why it's Draxhall, and Draxhall seems to be becoming the new town of St. Ann. So we want to be there.
Mayor Belnavis also suggests that the corridor has become even more attractive as a result of a relative downturn in other markets.
The people who are investing in this particular area seems to be those people from the diaspora. And so they are looking for a retirement down the road. And from what I understand, it's actually better to invest in Jamaica now than invest in Florida or Miami, because the market along that coast seems to have been is getting soft. So you get a better value right here in Jamaica.
Authorities are still on high alert following the disappearance of a rare exotic animal intercepted in a smuggling operation off Jamaica's southern coast. Now, the incident reignites concerns about the island's vulnerability to wildlife trafficking and its impact on national security and biodiversity. Here's Shante McNeil with more.
The National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, says it's strengthening interagency collaboration in response to a rise in exotic animal trafficking on Jamaica's shores, a trend the agency has been closely monitoring and working to curb. This follows news that an ocelot cub intercepted during a smuggling attempt off Jamaica's south coast went missing while being processed at the Black River port in St. Elizabeth. The small spotted wild cat, often called a mini jaguar, has raised concerns about public safety and environmental risk tied to the trafficking of exotic species. NEPA's environmental coordinator, Ricardo Miller, says traffickers are taking advantage of gaps at the nation's ports.
So we are engaging these agencies to ensure that they have training being done to identify these things. And over the years, we have had several cases. We've had, in some instances, the animals have already made landfall here in Jamaica, and we have now gone ahead and retrieved from individuals who've had monkeys, for example. Some of them have escaped. And I don't know if you may recall some cases where we've actually caught monkeys that were escaped from individuals in the wild and take them into custody.
Counselor at the Hope Zoo Preservation Foundation, Joey Brown, says the cub, whose gender is still unknown, is a protected endangered species and is often smuggled for its skin.
A lot of people don't realize how there's a big black market pet trade for these illegal animals that are being trafficked around the world, which is exactly what happened in this case here. And so that's one of the biggest threats in the wild right now. And these poachers will often, since it's quite difficult to get adults, what often is they find a kitten, and then that is taken unfortunately from the mom at a very young age.
While experts say the ocelot size makes it less a physical threat, they're urging the public not to pet, feed, or approach it.
These are wild animals, and the possibility of it carrying some form of disease, is fairly high, and that could be transmitted to humans. So we implore the public, if they see it, to simply call NEPA at 754-7540 or to call the nearest police station.
And for those tempted to keep it, there could be legal consequences.
Persons who are caught trying to smuggle these animals into the island, persons who are caught here with them in their possession, there are breaches to the Endangered Species Act, breaches to the Wildlife Protection Act, and the Wildlife Protection Act, for example, carries a fine of up to $5 million or up to 5 years imprisonment. Fairly similar charges for the Endangered Species Act with regards to illegal trafficking.
Shante McNeil, CVM News.
Do stay with us. CVM News at 7 will continue right after this.
At Cords, we know that mom is so much more than just a mom. May 8th to 11th, get up to 25% off during the Mother's Day weekend sale. Don't miss our doorbuster deals from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on May 8th and 9th only. Get 35% off small appliances. Shop for her today and pay later on 6 to 48 months credit. So let's celebrate her, as she is so much more than mom. Only at Cords, bringing value home. Offer valid May 8th through 11th, 2025. Conditions apply.
The future finds us faster than we think. But with CIBC Caribbean on your side, you'll be ready for all of it. That's how we've served Jamaica for over 100 years with industry-leading digital capabilities and innovative solutions. And it's how we'll do it for 100 more. That's the power of banking better together. Come, see what that looks like for you at CIBC. Ambitions made real.
Emmanuel Boutique kicks off its Mother's Day celebration in style. You can't afford to miss fresh, cool, fabulous looks of the season at prices you won't believe. Because, Mom, you're worth it. Emmanuel Boutique Mother's Day store-wide clearance sale. Visit them today at shop number 4 Village Plaza. Telephone 876-754-9158.
The craving that makes everything crunch. The crispy barbecue zinger is back with barbecue sauce, cheddar cheese, bacon, and crispy onions. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Thanks so much for staying with us. The police in Manchester were up to late Thursday afternoon at the scene of a stabbing incident in the parish. Information reaching our newsroom is a 37-year-old man of Clarkstown Road in Mandeville was stabbed to death along the Winston Jones Highway in the vicinity of the New Green roundabout, allegedly by a vendor also of Clarkstown Road who operates a stall just off the highway. Of course, we will have more details on that as we get more information for you. However, in another incident in the parish late Wednesday night, a woman was shot dead. Markings on the colourful building close to the road suggest there's a bar, Chill Spot Bar, and a restaurant, Rise and Dine. Perhaps a recent addition based on the new location, now open sign. The police say Britannia Francis, whom CVM News was told goes by the alias DHQ, the shortened version for Dancehall Queen, is said to have closed up the establishment in the community of Richmond in Manchester at about 1:30 Thursday morning. A motor car was reportedly parked nearby, and while standing beside the vehicle, according to police information, a man approached and opened fire. It was later discovered Britannia was shot. Other information suggests Francis, identified as a 26-year-old promotional dancer of a Main Street St. Elizabeth address, was in the company of a male, and after the doors were closed, 2 gunshots rang out from the direction of the rear of the premises as they tried to enter the vehicle. The injured female was rushed to hospital where she died while undergoing treatment for the wound to the side of her head. Up to news time, no official information was available on who was with her in Richmond or those who assisted in getting her to the Mandeville Hospital. Curlin Brown, CVM News. And enough for what's happening overseas and in the region.
We begin with news in the region. Over the last 2 weeks, regional and international military and security personnel were in Trinidad and Tobago participating in crime-fighting exercises. That report from TTT News.
Cooperating to ensure the Caribbean and beyond are safe for international trade and movement. Minister of Defense Wayne Sturge thanked the participants of the exercise Trade Winds 2025 at the closing ceremony in Chaguaramas.
This landmark event has once again affirmed Trinidad and Tobago's steadfast commitment to regional security and collective resilience. Over the past 2 weeks, we've seen a vivid demonstration of what it means to train together, respond together, and stand together.
Commander of the United States South Command, Admiral Alvin Halsey, said the hemisphere faces many security threats and challenges.
As allies and partners, we must stand shoulder to shoulder, ready, willing, and able to deter, confront, and overcome threats posed by malign state actors, transnational criminal organizations, violent extremist organizations, cyber criminals, and anyone else seeking to bring chaos where there is peace.
Admiral Halsey said 2025 was the 6th time the military exercise took place in Trinidad and Tobago.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has returned to St. Lucia following his leadership of an OECS delegation in Washington, D.C. for significant discussions with U.S. officials addressing regional security, trade, and the continued operation of the Cuban medical program. He spoke with HTS News Force.
The Trump administration had raised concerns about the program exploiting medical professionals, threatening to cancel visas for countries participating in the program.
We spoke about the Cuban presence as far as the doctors are concerned. We clarified that we obeyed all the laws as far as that was concerned. There's never a time when St. Lucia disobeyed these laws, where the ILO laws that related to labor were always there. And it was a very frank discussion, and I hope the U.S. and us, our relationship will be strengthened going forward.
The Cuban medical program has been touted for its importance to small island developing states in the Eastern Caribbean, many of which rely heavily on Cuban healthcare support. Prime Minister Pierre also reassured of St. Lucia's readiness to accept deported nationals, given the U.S. crackdown on undocumented immigrants.
These are the U.S.'s policies. We'll accept our locals. We'll accept our locals if they have to come back to St. Lucia.
And in international news, Bill Gates pledged to give away $200 billion via his charitable foundation by 2045. We hear more from Reuters.
I believe in this stuff.
Bill Gates pledged on Thursday to give away $200 billion via his charitable foundation by 2045, speeding up his plans to divest almost all of his fortune. The announcement follows moves by governments, including the Trump administration, to dramatically slash international aid budgets used to prevent deadly disease and famine.
The decision to do this is one that I've been thinking about for a few years and talking about with the foundation board. So it's actually not triggered by the fact we're here in this emergency situation.
The 69-year-old billionaire co-founder of Microsoft said he would close the foundation on December 31st, 2045, years earlier than previously planned. He said he believed the money would help eradicate diseases like polio and malaria, end preventable deaths among women and children, and reduce global poverty.
I think over the next 20 years, this amazing organization with amazing partnerships, I want to maximize what they can do.
He has also lashed out at Elon Musk, who oversees the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, which has overseen the cuts to USAID. In an interview with the Financial Times, Gates said, quote, "The picture of the world's richest man killing the world's poorest children is not a pretty one." Speaking to Reuters, Gates warned of a stark reversal to decades of progress in reducing mortality due to funding cuts.
It could be 4 years, 6 years, where we're having funding cuts from a number of countries, including the U.S., and the number of deaths will start going up for the first time.
And that's it for regional and international news.
Lots more to come. Stay with us.
The craving that makes everything crunch. The crispy barbecue zinger is back with barbecue sauce, cheddar cheese, bacon, and crispy onions. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
In a world where innovation meets tradition, agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
Welcome back. Well, more Jamaicans have been deliberately drinking jelly water these days, be it directly from the nut or otherwise, including packaged in a 5-gallon container with traditional flavors spotted when we went back to Fancy Fruits Health Restaurant in Mandeville. It's like a never-ending stream. What's on offer at 33 Ward Avenue? Infused with information. Led by owner and CEO Yaya L.
So I just see it as a way to give back to the community, to give back to the country, to give back to the entire world.
Fresh the chocolate bottles and refrigerate ASAP.
Jelly water. Jamaica start drinking jelly water probably for the last 5 years now like crazy because jelly water has a lot of electrolytes. You know, electrolytes, why them say it's good for your heart is because of the potassium. Potassium is something where the heart needs. And of course, the kidney balance these chemicals in our body. So when you drink this, what it does, it boosts your immune system and it makes the blood flow. And the heart can just love more. So that's why it's good for the heart.
And you said fancy fruits, but you're more than that.
Yeah, man, we're definitely more than fancy fruit. Fancy fruit is, you know, the concept of fancy fruit is just to stimulate a person's mind and, you know, just to have them intrigued. Everybody used to the fruit plate. Now, this is one of Caroline's favorite. And this is another fruit that is taking, you know, getting a lot of highlight. This is the Vita C. You see this now, bring your immune system way up. Take away, knock out the cold, knock out the flu, knock out anything when it belongs in you. Next we have the Moorish mass. See, not the Irish, we call it more because maroon. See, Irish mash come from Ireland, but we have the one that come from Jamaica, so we just say maroon, Moorish mash. This sea mass, and sea mass, we know the value of sea mass. Over 90 minerals and vitamins in it. Another favorite, spirulina soursop. We know Jamaica has some of the best soursop, knock out cancer. This is why a lot of other countries don't want the south for Jamaican soursop to come in them country because this is medicine. Beetroot. A lot of our female, they are anemic, iron low. And I always say, why you worry about protein? Beetroot, iron you're supposed to be concerned about. And this is another famous juice. This is a nut buster. This has a lot of nuts, seeds and grains. So this is like a meal right here you have it when you drink a bottle of this. Soursop and beets again, because we want you to have up your beet. So this is a nice combination. Soursop, you see the color? This color is royal. Then we have our natural OTT apple with a little cane juice in it. You know, and this is refreshing.
More next time on Why Not Fruits at Fancy Fruits Health Restaurant. So while you grab your juice ahead of another break, Jordan, you hear those guys? You can hear them, right?
I can hear them. I mean,
know.
It's fascinating watching that, Caroline. But sports is fascinating this evening. Lots happening. Remember that power outage situation in the Jamaica Premier League in the first leg playoffs? Well, of course, the match has been moved now from Sabina Park because of that issue to Stadium East. And that match the first match is going on now. The second match will come up live right here on CVM TV. But the professional arm, the PFJL of the JPL, is now blaming organizers for this power outage, saying it was a breach of trust in that regard. So I'll tell you more in sports. And of course, the fallout, military tensions between India and Pakistan causing chaos for the Indian Premier League and the Pakistan Super League. West Indian players are involved in both. I'll give you an update in sports.
Can't wait to hear the outcome of those. Stay where you are. We'll be right back.
The crispy barbecue zinger from KFC. Available for a limited time. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
The time by KFC is... Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Hey you know all the people in your business?
You should take advantage of CVM TV's unbeatable small business advertising package. Trust me. And get your goods and services in front of your customers today.
For $150,000, you get a high-quality professional commercial.
Plus 20 prime-time commercial spots.
That's massive exposure at a fraction of the cost.
Including on the #1 morning show in Jamaica, Sunrise.
So don't wait. Call us on 658-208-5377 and see your business goals happen right here on CVM Television. We welcome you back to the business news with Joel Crossgill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today as we make our promised return trip to the Centre for Advanced Research in Renewable Energy at UWI Mona in search of electric mobility knowledge. But first, a disclaimer.
I'm Louis Ray Harris, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Physics at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. Note that the goal is not to promote any specific brand of electric vehicle, but to show technologies that are common to all electric vehicles so that persons who do the courses and who attend the workshops will be better able to apply it in their own cases, their own contexts, and thus enable them to better make decisions that will help them wherever they are. We're happy that we're helping to help persons understand the EV ecosystem, and it's our hope that this project will contribute to the policies that are developed where transportation, the electrification of transportation is concerned in Jamaica.
So let's start in-house with an individual that was selected by the Department of Physics and the JPS Foundation's eDrive project to perform research and development that focuses on advancing Jamaica's e-mobility thrust by assessing the performance of electric vehicles on Jamaican roads using actual vehicle data and software that is developed internally.
My name is Kevin Williams. I am a research assistant at the University of the West Indies. I am working on the EV project to see how EVs are affected by our Jamaican context in terms of our terrain and climate. So in terms of climbing hills, going on the flats. I'm currently working on a sensor device that measures the angle of the vehicle. So when you're climbing a hill, you use more power to climb the hill. So this device just measures the angle that you're climbing. And this is our prototype, and so the prototype are testing stages, but these are more refined product compared to this one. So this will be mounted in the vehicle, so as the vehicle climbs the hill or makes any turns, this will reflect the angle data of the vehicle. And we have a device connected to the vehicle to measure the power consumption as you're going up and down the hill.
Having taken that on board, Dr. Harris was then able to guide us through the fundamental mechanisms behind the construction of electric vehicles.
As you can see inside under the hood, there's no engine. So the battery pack has the electricity that is stored, and then it provides that electricity upon demand through the battery management system to the motors, which then provide power to the wheels. There is an auxiliary battery, which is responsible for starting the vehicle, for operating things like lights and radio and so on. But this battery is not the one that actually powers the vehicle. What powers the vehicle is the electricity that's stored in the battery pack, which is located underneath the vehicle. You may not realize it because the There is no sound. Their engine is actually on. There is a interface here that indicates the amount of charge that is present in the vehicle battery pack. Currently it's showing 63%. It's telling you the amount of power that is coming from the charger, in this case 6.3 kilowatts, and it also tells you the expected time that it will take to charge. Now most vehicles, most EVs with a level 2 charger can charge fully from 6 to 9 hours depending on the size of the battery pack, and this is something that varies with different vehicles. It's something that is applicable to all vehicles. It's not just for this particular model. So persons should really consider their own driving habits and use that to determine what size suits them.
Professor Tanisha Stevenson, climate professor in the Department of Physics, who we met prior, explains that the university is also making inroads as it relates to more advanced areas of study in the electrification of transportation.
One of the things the program is allowing us to do is we have undertaken the development through consultancies, and the funding from our German partners has been crucial for this. It has allowed us to build out the occupational standards around EV technologies. What this means for us is our TVETs now have a level 3 and a level 4 hybrid electric and battery electric vehicle service and repair course and program that they can offer that positions us in Jamaica and within the Caribbean to have our own competencies that our technicians can obtain. Where we're hoping to go is we're hoping to also roll out content around battery technologies, because we know a better understanding of that for the Jamaica and Caribbean market is crucial. And then there are some advanced topics that persons who have been in this space for a while are talking about electric vehicle to grid and grid to electric vehicle. Talking about those interactions. And so we want to be able to do a consultancy that builds out that content for the advanced learner.
However, as Dr. Harris explains, there remains a conundrum that even advanced learners in the Jamaican market will have to contend with.
The integration of EV charging stations has taken a while to get to where it is. However, it's a chicken and egg situation where the players that have the capability to do that, they have to know that they'll get a return on their investments within a certain time, because it is an